Welcome back to Market on Close. I'm now joined by Mike Townsend, Managing Director of Legislative and Regulatory Affairs for Charles Schwab & Co. Mike, just the guy we needed on this afternoon. Happy to see you. Thanks for taking the time. Fireworks. I mean, obviously 4th of July around the corner, but this is like the Super Bowl out there in D.C. right now. Give us the update.
Yeah, Alex, it's great to be with you. And obviously a crazy 48 hours or so as the Senate has been slogging through the one big beautiful bill. But they got it passed a little after noon today. And that means it goes to the House of Representatives. And they'll start as soon as tomorrow morning trying to work their way through the changes. What has to happen here, of course, Alex, is the House passed the bill back in May. The Senate now passed it, made a whole bunch of changes. House and Senate have to pass the same thing. So that's what the House has got to do in order to get this to the president by the self-imposed deadline of July 4th. I think they got a shot at doing it, but it's not a slam dunk. There are a lot of complications and a lot of changes coming back from the Senate that both moderates and conservatives are worried about on the House side.
Now, Mike, absent hiccups, there's not a situation you're foreseeing where this is then kicked back again to the Senate and there's more changes, or is that possible? Is that the bad path in terms of timeline if you're the president?
Yeah, I think that's the bad path. I think you can't rule that out as a possibility. I'm guessing that the president is going to put the full force of his ability to twist arms and needle people and badger people into voting for this. But like I said, I don't think it's a slam dunk. So I think you could see some possible changes, and maybe it has to go bounce back to the Senate. That would take it well past the July 4th deadline. So I think there's going to be a big push here in the next 48 hours to get this done in the House and be able to go home for July 4th and have this to kind of talk about and something for the president to sign into law right on or around July 4th.
Mike, not to get into the politics of it all, but for those who are just kind of curious on this process, obviously for this to go through and be on the desk of the president by the end of the week, the House has to pass what the Senate did already. So they know the changes that need to be made. For those in the Republican, I guess caucus, whatever you would call it, that are maybe hesitant on some of those changes, how do you get them on board? Are there deals for future legislation? Is there different positions that are promised to stuff? Like, what are the kind of things that are deals? Because they can't change the legislation without sending it back to the Senate again.
Yeah, I think you're right, Alex. That's the kind of thing we're talking about. A promise to vote on something, else that Congressman so-and-so cares about down the road or something like that. I think you've really got this breaking down in a couple of different ways. One is moderates concerned about the Medicaid cuts. You've still got a couple of holdouts on the state and local tax deduction deal. But I think the bigger one is on the conservative side, where the savings and the impact on the federal deficit and the national debt is what is really concerning some conservatives. They don't feel like the spending cuts go far enough. And, the bill looks like it's going to raise the federal deficit by $3+ trillion over the next decade. That's not really what they signed up for. They really signed up to try to bring the deficit down. So I think that's where you're going to maybe see some of those kinds of promises. We'll come back, later in the summer and try to focus on some more spending cuts or something like that in order to get this bill across the finish line.
Well, that's where Elon and the promises to fund primary challengers and the like really complicates that pressure too. Obviously, with House reps going up every 2 years, they're a little bit more susceptible to those things. Mike, let's shift gears, though, because we also got trade policy, and we actually had headlines at the top of the hour. President, while either boarding or unboarding Air Force One, speaking with reporters. Japan was a topic of discussion, but I think the big takeaway was not looking at pushing this timeline out. So it seems like this July 9th date is written in at least, I guess, intensely with the pencil at this point. Racer could still come out, but maybe not likely at this point, Mike?
Yeah, I think this is a key date to watch, Alex, next week. July 9th is the day when the 90-day pause on those reciprocal tariffs on about 90 countries, that's when the pause ends. And so the White House is going to have to make a decision here. Do they extend the pause, for 30 days or 60 days? Do they extend it for some countries that they feel like they're making headway with, perhaps? Do they levy tariffs on other countries where they feel like they haven't been getting a serious response? I think they're leaning towards something along those lines where, countries that just haven't kind of stepped up and played ball and at least initiated serious discussions, I think that's where you may see some of these tariffs increase on those countries. I think other countries you may see either an extension or some kind of announcement that says, we've got a deal that we're working on. We feel like progress is being made. It may take a few more weeks, but we're going to go ahead and keep the tariffs at the same level in a sort of gesture of good faith. That while those negotiations happen, as we all know, I mean, trade negotiations historically take, in the order of 12 to 18 months. We're talking 90 days so far. So I think you're really looking for signs of progress, not some formal, 300-page trade deal that's been fleshed out at this point.
Yeah, kind of like the framework deals that we've seen perhaps laid out as like, hey, we have a path to talks. Is more maybe what we'll see. But Mike, you get some rest if you can. So much coming out these next few days. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk to Mike again here soon. Mike Townsend, Managing Director, Legislative and Regulatory Affairs for Charles Schwab.